This is History in Small Scale. I'm Gary Tangeman. Welcome to Adventures of the Foreign Legion, in which we've tried to recreate in small scale, 54 millimeter, scenes from classic desert movies, Arabs and forts and Foreign Legion and all of those kinds of things together. And of course it's a series of scenes that are filmed and would be filmed literally outdoors in the desert. And one of the things that people would never realize is how difficult it is to film scenes using sand, especially in the small scale in which they are recreated. Because when you take a small figure and you stick it in sand, one of the problems you discover is that the granules of sand are often too big for the size of the figures to look realistic. And so we had to spend, before we even began, we got the figures all painted, which takes a lot of time because there are probably 400 or 500 figures that you'll see in this video. But making sure that the sand is in proportion to the size of the figures takes a great deal of time. You say, how did we do that? Well, we had to take ladies' pantyhose and use it as a sieve so that we could sift all of the grains of sand, making sure that they were small enough to literally fit in proportion to the size of the figures that we are using. And so as you see a scene of a desert oasis at the very beginning, palm trees and a well, and the Foreign Legion troops are suddenly besieged by hundreds of Arab warriors. All of that is using sand that has been sifted in such a way that it all seems to flow together and look quite natural. And so as you watch this, you're going to discover that we have old temple ruins, as if we are somewhere in the desert. And of course, in a temple like that, what would it be without seeing at least one picture of the mummy, which you'll notice in one of these slides. And then of course, since we're dealing with the desert, who could forget Indiana Jones? And we have to have Indiana Jones and Sala stealing the Ark of the Covenant. And of course, we remember in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark that it was loaded onto a plane. And so we had to have a few scenes of Indiana Jones fighting it out with the German plane mechanic there in the desert. And sort of the final climax of the whole thing, we have a recreation of Fort Zinzendorf from the movie Beau Geste. And there the Arabs have surrounded the fort and they're trying to take it, and they blow up the front gate and they storm into the fort, and it's almost as if the Foreign Legion troops are fighting down to the very last man, but they manage to hold the fort in the end. So I hope you enjoy watching Adventures of the Foreign Legion.